All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm with James Gilliland, who is a contactee. I can say that, right? It's
Yeah.
you are at your ranch is SETI Ranch, and you have been basically screaming disclosure for the longest time.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to bring you on today because there's so much happening in the UFO disclosure world, and I think people are missing the true objective, the true point of what's really going on. So I try to bring people on like Laura Eisenhower, yourself, others that really have been dealing with this for not years but decades. And just recently, Trump put out a post with a shackled alien, right?
Yeah.
And to me, a total calm that, hey, we got you. You're not going to be able to play the fake alien card, the Project Blue Beam fake alien card, but basically to me it was obvious. It was a shot across the bow to say, we got you. You're in shackles and handcuffs. We got your whole alien agenda. That's how I took it. I don't know how you took it, but you're someone that's actually been dealing with disclosure for a very long time. Thank you for joining me, James.
Yeah, 40 years intensely, but all my life actually. But,
okay, so this is just insane. It's just
it's
just a lot of people are just coming into this right now, and they don't really know what to believe. So hopefully we could straighten that out. We could set the record straight. But first, folks, you gotta get your tungsten, baby. You asked me what metals to get. I came through for all of you. I've had emails about this stuff. So all right, this is the big one. While everyone's watching the weapon systems and the troop movements, the real battle is happening further upstream in the raw materials that make all of it possible, folks. Let's get into it. Every jet, every tank, and every piece of ammunition in some way contains something that is called tungsten. And the U.S. hasn't mined this in nearly a decade. The Pentagon, through the DoD, has spent close to $10 million to restart domestic tungsten production. And Trump signed Project Vault, a $12 billion critical mineral stockpile plan aimed at breaking foreign dominance and reshaping the mining sector. And that's not all. And an additional $30 billion was announced at the Critical Minerals Ministerial to accelerate domestic production and secure strategic supply chains. America needs its own tungsten. The war in Iran has been a stark reminder just how much this is needed for the U.S. defense. Thousands of drones, missiles, and ammunition. Tungsten has a big role to play in that, and that it's just not a metal. Its national resilience. This is where Vault Strategic Mining comes into play, trading under NOx in Canada, KNXFF in the U.S. They are building what could be the most strategic tungsten project portfolio across the U.S. Vault is built around a specific operating model. They acquire historic mines and use modern exploration techniques to maximize value. And the tungsten priced to near record highs. They are in the right place at the right time. If you want to find out more about this, folks, just hit the link down below and get started on this. It's going to be pretty big, especially with all these wars taking place. But maybe we won't be going to war with aliens. I don't know. Maybe that's going to be off the table now. But, hit the link down below, folks. vaultstrategic.com. I don't know. Maybe we will be going to war with aliens. I don't know. What's your thoughts on all this, man? I mean, what kind of disclosure are you expecting? You're already eyeballs deep in disclosure.
Yeah. For 40 years, we've had contact, and it's well documented. We've had all the Skunk Works people out here, NASA, Air Force Base commanders. We've had triple PhD Boeing engineers, all of them testifying on the Art Bell show, back in the day. And it's still happening. It never stopped. So, it's kind of like crazy. This whole game, I mean, it's a limited hangout. It's a very controlled narrative. And unfortunately, the UFO community is just riddled with shills and posers and planned opposition. And so what you're going to see is these fuzzy tic tacs, basically. That's about as far as you're going to get. But we know who's on the ships. We know, why they're here. We know what their intentions are. And we also know their history.
You're saying you personally do?
Yeah. Not just me. A lot of people here at SETI have had face-to-face contact with these beings, and most of them are not grays. They're not like the pictures that you show. A lot of them look just like us. or some of them are a bit taller than us. And these are the benevolent ones. And you're not going to hear about the spiritually and technologically advanced ones, the benevolent ones, because they are a threat to our system, or they're a threat to the war and the disease profiteers and that group. They want to keep the status quo going, and religions too. But before I get started, I wanted to say Tim Burchett said something that was just classic. He said, "I'm good with Jesus, and I'm pretty sure demons don't need a spacecraft." And I think that was probably he just nailed it on that one. And then Anna Paulina Luna also is really calling it out. And we've sent some of them this information. I hope they're sharing about who they are, who's here, who they were in the past, the ancient colonies, who's good and who's not good, which ones to deal with, which ones not to.
So, okay, so you've been doing this for decades. Explain what a SETI Ranch is, first off. So people that don't know you, explain what is SETI Ranch. And yes, you invited me there.
Yeah, you got to come see this yourself. It's a life-changing experience, because SETI Ranch stands for Enlightened Contact with Extraterrestrial Intelligence. But we really focus on empowering the individual to make their own personal connection with, God, Creator, Great Spirit, whatever name you want to give it, which is really the main mission of Yeshua, or Jesus, some people call him. And with that comes contact with the higher dimensional beings. But you also have lower dimensional beings. Some people call them, serpent beings, reptilians, negative grays, things like that you have to be aware of. And so we teach people how to protect themselves, how to heal unseen negative influences. And there's always two parts to the story. It's never all good. It's never all bad. It's not all male and it's not all female. This patriarchal hierarchical system is basically a controlled narrative. It's not really the way the universe works, especially on the higher levels.
When I think about your ranch, I also think about Skinwalker Ranch. Is there a lot of
not even close, not even the same.
Oh, can you explain that? Because that's really popular. They've done a Netflix series on it.
Yeah.
What's the difference between your ranch and that ranch? Because aren't they both basically? Obviously, there's a lot of sightings at both ranches. Would they both be considered portals?
Well, yeah, there's negative portals and positive portals. As I said before, what's happening at the ranch is really interesting. I think I've sent you some photos, but we have photos of the masters appearing here. And we have beautiful photos of Mother Mary appearing here, Kuan Yin, Baba Ji, all these masters, higher beings some people don't know about, are appearing here on a regular basis. And we're having spontaneous healings constantly here, where people just, this weekend we did a workshop, and there's probably 5 or 6 at least major spontaneous healings that happened in the workshop. And so we're more than just UFO stuff. And a lot of people want to package us in one category or another, but we go beyond all that. And so we're really focused on empowering the individual, enlightenment, research, like-minded people gathering together with no guru. We don't have a guru thing going on here. Everybody really needs to take personal responsibility for making their own personal God connection or creator connection, and learn how to clear your fields and create sacred space. And that's what we teach, basically.
What's the difference between something like this? I go to Crestone, Colorado, and I have a friend up there who's a shaman, a really great guy. His name's Wonder Bob, and you guys are reminding each other. I'm scared to introduce you to, because you're either going to get along really well, or you're going to fight, or you're just going to be oil and water. But you guys are identical in a lot of ways. But Crestone has a lot of sightings, man. We've seen a lot of things up there. He claims there's a portal or a vortex or something going on there. There's definitely some different kind of energies there. I guess there's just some places on Earth, right, that just attract these UFOs or act as some kind of portal for these things.
Yeah, definitely. Like, even the government knows about this place. It's called the Purple Zone. And it's a place where the magnetic fields are totally different than anywhere else. And the veils between worlds are very thin. And then we have like 40 years of intense ceremony and clearing and, doing spiritual practices here that's really maintained the portal. There are other portals where anything comes in. And it's almost like you're using a Ouija board, you just don't let anything come in. There's people in the UFO community that say, stop being spiritual snobs, let anything in. And that is the most unconscious thing I've ever heard in my life, because we have a saying, just because you're dead doesn't mean you're enlightened, and just because you're an ET doesn't mean you're benevolent.
I gotta say, there's a person that comes to my mind that I believe he claims that all ETs are good, right? Isn't that Dr. Steve Greer? I mean, doesn't he say that, basically they're all benevolent, or they're all
that goes against every ancient teaching, goes against all the ancient scrolls, all the writings on the temples, everything that goes against everything that's ever known. So to make a statement like that, you can actually get people into trouble. And a lot of people have gotten into trouble, and we've had to clear them up. We've had people have attachments and possessions and things like that. So it's, if you're going to go into these higher dimensional realms and open up, you really need to learn some tools before you go in there, or you're going to be channeling everything from, you name it, from demonic type entities to greys to reptilians to everything. And it's kind of sad that people at the top of the food chain in the UFO community, which is $1 billion industry basically, and it's totally riddled with agencies and planned opposition and a lot of, like I said, a lot of posers and and they attack us. Most of our attacks are coming from them, not from mainstream media. I've been on Fox News, I've been on ABC, I've been on all the major chains in the past, and we didn't get any crap from them. It's unbelievable. Most of the heat came from the jealousy, the competition, the backstabbing, and the controlled narrative within the UFO community.
I've noticed really it's rare for any of you who agree on anything. Everyone's a guru. Everyone is an expert. Nobody that's just my experience from the people that I've had on as guests. And I try to make up my own mind, but I believe personally that this is a spiritual war. And this is what when we talk about angels and demons, this is exactly what we're talking about in the heavenly realm. And I believe that, they can't all be good. It just makes no sense to me. A lot of them are here. They're parasitic. I believe that there could be such a thing as reptilians here. I don't know. I've never seen one, but I've seen apparitions. I've seen shadow people. I've had my experiences with what I call negative entities, and I don't feel like they are from here, but they're, Anna Paulina Luna said, interdimensional. And so did Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson said, I think he even referred to them as they could be demons. I mean, a lot of people are referring to them as interdimensional entities. L.A. Marzulli says interdimensional intruders.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this?
Well, you can put a negative spin on anything, and especially if you have victim patterns or you're totally socially engineered by religions or governments or whatever, you can put a negative spin on anything, but it's always balanced. There's always more good out there than negative. And if you want to get rid of the negative, you got to know who the more good is and call on them and bring them into the situation. I see what these guys are saying, and there are beings here helping us right now defend from these other entities and the negative ones, and they're trashing them and they're demonizing them. And I think that comes from ignorance, but because they don't know. I mean, I've had 2 near-death experiences. I've gone all the way to the source. I've been up to like the 16th dimension, and I know who's who in the universe. And there are definitely ones you need to watch out for. And they call it's basically the Orion Alliance, which is an alliance of serpent beings, royal reptilians, draconians, negative grays, and a few others, some insectoids and things like that. And those are the ones you need to watch out for. But on top of that, you have the Andromedans, which are the highest council. They're mythologically known as archangels. And you've got the Syrian councils, the Pleiadian councils, the Arcturian councils, the Orion Council of Light. Those are all operating on our behalf. And they operate according to universal law, which is basically universal peace, brother, sister, love, individual freedom, and prosperity for all. They're here to actually, they're anchoring that in right now, which is taking out the dark side.
So when you said that you were going to break some news on my podcast here, and the images that I'm showing folks right now are taken at his ranch. I know, there's a lot of missing texts and books out of the Bible. We all know this. There's a lot of older scripture, the Babylonians, Sumerian tablets, the cuneiform tablets. There's a lot of stuff. I'm trying to put it all together for my audience. Is there something that you could tell my audience that you know of that could help put another piece of the puzzle together for all of us?
Yeah, exactly. I've been doing some intense research into the Sumerian tablets and a lot of the latest findings, and also the Ethiopian Bible, which is 88 books versus the 66 that we've had totally censored and taken out. And so if you really want to learn the true teachings of Jesus and the feminine side of things, which has been smashed out because of the patriarchal program going on and the hierarchical program, go there. I mean, that has all the information of all the women, the house of Mary, Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, the grandmothers, other women as well. It's always supposed to be balanced. And I'll tell you something, it's going to really shock some people, but actually Yahweh had a counterpart named Asherah, and they don't want to tell you that. They don't want to cover that all of these beings, every master, you have Jesus and Mary Magdalene, you have, all of the saints and sages basically throughout history, we refer to as the little g gods, had counterparts, because there's always balance. And we need to get back into that. And unfortunately, that message destroys the patriarchal system, because it was never supposed to be a patriarchal system. It's a system of unity and cooperating and working together. And so when I put all this together, and the latest thing that came out, Scott Wolter has, I don't know if have you had him on your show yet?
I don't believe so.
You got to get him on your show, but
make the connection.
Yeah, they found these scrolls, and they call them the Yeshua scrolls, which is the real name of Jesus. It means Yeshua ben Joseph is his real name. And the Yeshua scrolls, and it is a mind blower, and it actually totally validates everything we've been teaching for like 40 years, finally. And it covers everything. He talks about the Arcturians. He talks about the higher connections, that, the mansions we know not of, the higher dimensions.
Was this found in the 1970s?
I'm not sure exactly when he found it, but he
Walters, what are you talking about? Oh, here it is. Yeah.
So he brought these scrolls out, and what's happening right now is the Good Templars are releasing all this information that they grabbed, so it couldn't be hidden. And they grabbed all these scrolls, all this technology, all this stuff, and they sequestered it away. They have the arcs, basically. I think they have 12 of them. And they were powering the pyramids. They're in the pyramids. But they grabbed all this stuff, and now they're releasing it. And it's going to be crazy once all this gets out. But the history is not what we've been told. And the true teachings of Jesus are coming out, which are talking about unity consciousness, about, being loving and kind to each other. And, just the basics, the basic foundations was all he talked about, and making your own personal God connection. And he said, and he made it very clear. He said, they'll use my name and my face to build their temples and gather their money and things like that. And he said, but they'll be pushing an external God. And that's what they do. The external gods, the sacrificial gods of old, are what a lot of these old religions are based on. And I don't want to get you in trouble, but there are some religions that are fanatical, and they're divisionary, and they promote one group over another. And in Jesus' teaching, he says there's enough room for everybody in heaven, And just be a decent human being is what he's saying.
Yeah, I always say there's one commandment: don't be an asshole.
You got it. That's my go-to. I didn't want to say it on your show, but that's pretty much it.
I mean, it's pretty simple.
The
green jar
it's real
scroll.
Simple.
That's what it says here. The green jar scroll. The claim, more recently, forensic geologist Scott Wolter promoted a Yeshua scroll reportedly kept in a glass jar and buried on a remote island in upstate New York. He claims the document contains historical and theological revisions regarding the life of Christ. The truth: there is no peer-reviewed academic or museum evidence verifying the discovery or contents of this scroll. It is treated in the scientific community as an unproven media theory rather than an archaeological discovery.
Yeah, they're going to attack it, of course. It
Right.
goes against the status quo. So they've already started. They've already started to totally. What they do is they'll try to attack the evidence, and then you prove that it's real, and then they attack you. They'll come after your character and everything else, and they'll make all these slander. I've been dealing with that, for 40 years, basically.
You know what I've always thought also is how come, why would Jesus have all these apostles writing everything? Why wouldn't he just write things down himself if he wanted to get the point across, right?
Yeah.
I mean, why not come from me? And so the concept of an autobiographical scroll written by Jesus gained fame via Donovan Joyce's 1972 book, The Jesus Scroll. Joyce claimed a scroll from Masada excavations detailed the life of an 80-year-old Jesus who survived the crucifixion. Wow, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, he's it's really, but really, when you look at it, he dropped some bombs in there that I know about, hardly anybody else knows about, and to me, it makes it authentic because he was dropping bombs in there that very few people even know about, and also too, his teachings he made it very clear about the position of like Mary, that he continued and did a joint teaching, male and female, where he was teaching and she was holding the feminine side and he was holding the masculine side. And so, I mean, really that's what it's all about. But she wrote a whole bunch of stuff, and it tells how he pulled off the crucifixion, how he healed himself, ascended, all the other stuff. It has all that information in there, which is really interesting. But it totally makes sense because we got that information on a spiritual level before this came out. I've written books about it, actually.
I talked to L.A. Marzulli, and he is a huge component or proponent for the Shroud of Turin, right? I believe, and after talking to L.A. Marzulli, the Shroud of Turin to me is actually really a proof of a calling card of Jesus Christ, that he did walk this earth. And
exactly,
to me, that is undeniable evidence, right?
Well, I know how they tried to deny it, and I know what they did in their science, and it was wrong. The science was all wrong, and they got repaired pieces and looked at them and things like that. And it was, and you can't do a negative on a shroud like that. Back then, come on, nobody could fake that the way the only thing that could make that was a huge flash of light, and which created the negative on the shroud, and that's a multi-dimensional thing going on. That's like an ascension thing.
So a lot of my audience here is probably going to be, it's wrong. This is demonic. This whole podcast, because we know when the UFO disclosure comes out, we know it's already happening. It's going to ruin establishments. It's going to ruin religious establishments and organizations. People are going to be, a lot of them are going to be in denial. They're not going to know what to believe or understand. And that's why it's such a powerful tool by the globalists, which is being intercepted right now by Trump.
Yeah.
What do you say to those people that are, diehard Christians or Muslims? Or, I mean, are they going to lose their faith, or are they going to have a stronger faith?
I think a lot of them know something's not right. And I mean, how many people have ascended through the church? How many spontaneous healings are they having there? There are some, but very few in between. And how many people are making their own personal God connection there? And which is what he taught. And so everything he taught was to empower the individual. And he said, "You will do greater things for I go on to the Father." So basically he's saying God is in everyone, and God's light shines through everyone around you in his own words, according to that scroll. And that there's no go-betweens with that. And that's the problem. The go-betweens disempower, and you're dependent on them. And they take away the personal responsibility of making your own personal connection with Creator and living according to universal law, because you can break the rules all week long and then go in Sunday and make a confession and everything's good. Well, it doesn't work that way.
In my life, at least, I feel that I can go straight to source because I am part of source.
Exactly.
I don't, I can say I don't need a middleman, but I know Jesus's teachings, and I understand the concept and what he was teaching to everybody, that we will do just as great as things as he, because we all part of source. It's not that we're, drops of the ocean, but we are the ocean in one drop, is the way I see it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is, how do you separate yourself from omnipresence? Nobody ever thought about that. If Jesus is closer than the hair on your head, like he said, how can you not be, he's talking about God is closer than the hair on your head. How can you not be God? I mean, there's nothing closer than the hair on your head, basically. And he said, ye are all God's children of the Most High. And what he's saying is that God's spark is in everybody, and we can expand that into the full flame and become one with God, just like he did. And that was his foundational teachings, that, the temple is within. You need to go within to make that connection.
And that's why these very evil people, I call very evil people, are in charge of this planet. They've withheld all this knowledge from us on purpose.
Exactly.
And, we're just now becoming awakened. We're starting to realize there's more to this story than we've been told. And the people that have controlled this throughout history, and they've done this to stay in power. So now we're coming into a time where I at least hope, Trump doesn't just take the alien card away from these globalist elites, but gives us true disclosure, gives us the true technology, this true spirituality, lets humanity, become its absolute most powerful best, right? But I just hope this isn't a fractional or a fraction of this disclosure we deserve. I hope humanity.
Well, yeah, it probably will be, but the good news is the real disclosure is coming from the sky, and the skies are full right now of ships, and it's under control of the Pleiadians, mainly backed up by the higher councils. And if people knew the real history of Earth was a series of colonies with a lot of genetic tinkering going on, but we made a superstition out of it versus looking at it, by the words it's saying. And it talks about, Enki and creating the Lulu, which was the upgrade of the primitive humans that were developing here naturally. And then you have the other colonies of Atlantis and Lemuria and Mu. Those came from the Pleiadians. And so right now we have this massive genetic soup down here from the stars that colonized the Earth over and over, that had to start over as primitives due to cataclysms. And so basically, when they say we are created in the same image and likeness of God, it's the little g gods in the physicality, but in the spiritual sense, it's actually the soul, the spark that's waiting to ignite into the full flame. So there's different levels you can look at this, but I mean, I know people that worked on the genome experiment and everything else. They said there's so much alien DNA, there's no way no way we could have developed naturally, like they're trying to say.
I mean, this is all what I'm showing here, folks, is the activity of your ranch, right? Is this every night?
Yeah, this was just 2 nights. We had landings. We had the door opening up on the mountain. We had ships coming out. We had
a door opening up in the mountain.
Yeah, we're right at the base.
Have you ever been to the mountain where the door opens up?
Not when it opens up, but I've been over that.
Gone to the location.
Yeah, I've gone out of body. We've had other remote viewers go in and see what was happening there, like John Vivanco, quite a few others, and we all came up with the same thing. We did a remote viewing class here, and the people just nailed it. And they had all they were given is a number, and they totally nailed what's on the interior, the different types of beings in there, everything. And even the ships. We had one ship come over we knew was a satellite, and they remote viewed it, and they go, all we see is technology. We don't see anything. The next ship came over, this beautiful light blue ship came over, And they said, whoever's on that ship are angelic. She said they are so loving, so beautiful. They said it actually made them cry to remote view it when they connected in with the energy there. And so, we've had, I've had reverse speech done on me. I've had everything. The only thing I haven't done is a lie detector test, and I'll do one. I have nothing to worry about. But in the in the reverse speech, I said even more backwards than I said forward. So they said, not only are you telling the truth, there's so much more information when we go back into your, but they said you're one of the few people that are saying the same thing, from your soul level to all the way through to the intellect with no distortions. It was the first time they've seen somebody tell a story and it's exactly the same through reverse speech.
So what's your concern with Trump's disclosure? Do you have one? And do you agree with me that whole alien post that he put up was to show the elites we got you?
I don't know how Trump could not know what's going on as far as the higher dimensional beings and this timeline we're on, where we are going to have a big reunion here really soon. I know some of his key people, like his bodyguards and things like that, they've been here to the ranch, and other key people, and they have all the information. I gave it to them. I put it in their hand. They said, I'm going to put it on his desk. He's very interested in this. And I can't, I don't want to overstep. Sometimes you don't want to talk about some things because there is a plan and you don't want to mess it up, like they know what they're doing. But basically they know about the benevolent ones. They know, the white hats know about it. Space Force knows about it. The Galactic Federation's part of it. And then there's councils above that, and they're all aligned. And they're doing a major cleanup on Earth right now, and they're cleaning up these negative factions and these underground bases and facilities and things. Like Gene Decode, he knows all about what's going on there. And we're just in ground zero right now. They're just taking names and kicking butt, right now. And there's not many left. There's not many reptilians left, or these other folks are.
I've heard these reptilians. You've seen some of the. I've seen some of these on trail cams and this is before AI.
Yeah,
they look like the rakes. I think they're called the rakes, or they're these just.
Those are nasty. Yeah.
I don't know what they are, man. Skinwalkers, whatever. But I have to believe they're all coming from the system. I know they're probably coming in from they're interdimensional, but they also have this translucent looking tone to them that looks like they can shapeshift out of our reality, and they're not really completely physically here. But they also, it looks to me like they're coming from underground somewhere, right? I mean,
yeah, they are. A lot of them are coming up in Iraq and places like that. For some reason, it might be all the bombing we're doing. We're probably collapsing their caves or something. I don't know, but there are things coming up from underground that aren't really. There's two levels of that too. I mean, if you go with the old Sumerian tablets, the Absu was the underground facilities that the Anunnaki created. So there was two, and there are the Atlanteans, the Lemurians, and those guys that went underground during the cataclysms to be saved. And the Hopi traditions talk about that. They went underground, they were saved by the ant people. I don't know if they actually look like ants, but they probably called them ant people because they lived underground. But those legends that are almost in every culture about the inner earth and these guys are real. And this is going to be a stretch for somebody, but there's elven beings there. And some of them are 6-dimensional elven beings, and they control the doors. You're not going to get past them. You're not going to get into those facilities.
I know that when Trump was in his first term, I've heard rumors and conspiracies that was the term of his first term was when he was cleaning up the underground tunnels is what I heard. I heard that was that was the process of his, that was the whole mission or operation, was to clean up these. Well, I guess they like honeycombed our planet, and they lived there like termites, and you had to get rid of them. That's why you saw all these floods happening in Washington, D.C., coming up from underground. I mean, that was happening in record numbers. Never before did we see that stuff. And it continued into the Biden administration. I'm sure it's still continuing now, but is there any truth to that? Do you know, is that a stretch? Is that true?
100% true. They actually just found another operation over there in Ukraine, and it was a massive operation with children and the other stuff. It's so dark and it's so ugly. Most Christians won't even look at it, which I don't blame them. You know, it's so ugly what's going on, and cleaning out these, and that's tied to the reptilian, the satanic Luciferian reptilian nonsense going on. It's tied to all that. And they just want longevity, and they don't care how they get it or what they have to do to get it. And
why don't they just die? I mean, what are they so scared of, being judged on the other side? Is that what it is? Is that what it is?
They don't want to die because they know they're going to have a light review. And when they have that light review, the next experience is going to be somewhere else on a very low level, very low plane of existence. So, because their frequency is so low. The other thing, too, is the whole planet is raising in frequency right now, and they're not frequency specific to the ascension of Earth or the Earth's evolution right now. So their kingdoms, all that stuff is collapsing. Even their bodies are collapsing, and they aren't going to make it. They aren't going to make this shift because they're not aligned. You know, love and joy and bliss are the highest frequencies that we need to focus on right now and release the past and heal the wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions from past experience, even childhood stuff, which is what we focus on. And when you heal that, your frequencies go up, and then, you know, the body heals, and that's where these spontaneous healings come from. But basically, if they don't align with the awakening and healing of humanity, the Earth, and get with, you know, take their assets and energies and put them towards the ascension process, they aren't going to be here much longer. That whole system is collapsing.
Would that be the Schumann resonance as well? Is that the frequencies that's picking up? Because I've also heard that they cannot keep their form due to the frequency on this Earth, so they cannot hold whatever they want us to perceive them as, even human beings. Like that's the internet has all these photos of people. Now, the internet too, I just want to warn people that they're going to flood the internet with nonsense, and they already are. And a lot of AI and CGI, and there's so much going out there to muddy the waters, to kind of get us to look at that and go, oh, that's all CGI, that's nonsense. They're going to do everything they can to not accept or acknowledge, you know, what's really going on, the real truth to what's happening. I mean, you wouldn't believe the attacks we go through here. Even people in the UFO community, I've never seen so much competition and backstabbing and jealousy, and it's just unbelievable. And these people are supposed to be spiritual leaders, right? And you're going, wait a second, guys, how do you put these two together? How can you be a spiritual? I'll tell you this: I've had prophetics and people that speak to God or whatever, and you know, I've had people that are in the UFO community, and everyone has an ego. I mean, everybody's right.
Exactly.
And everybody else is wrong.
And, you know, the thing is, I've had like 2 near-death experiences, and I've been studying this for 40 years, and I've studied with all the lamas and the yogis and the elders around the world and everything. And I'll be the first to tell you, I am still figuring things out.
You know, I'm a guru, right? You know, I'm a guru.
What's that?
I'm a guru.
All right. Are you?
I'm a guru at questions. I am the guru of questions. I will nonstop ask questions, and that's it. I have no answers. I mean,
if God was standing in front of me, I would be grilling him or her or whatever it is. But I've already done that in the near-death experience. I've already asked the questions.
I'm just the first to admit I don't know. I just know everything in my life that was given to me to learn was wrong.
Yeah.
I know everything I was taught in school was wrong. And I knew it, but I will say that I've always had very good instincts, and I knew something was wrong. The first time I went to confession at 3rd grade, I remember I went in there and I told the priest, "You go first." And I got kicked out of school, but that's the kind of kid I was, you know, and they couldn't handle me, man. And like,
that's hilarious.
Yeah. And that's a true story. Absolutely.
That'd be a long confession for most of them. But you know what's funny is It's because I went to Catholic school when I was a kid because I was raised in the high desert, and it was the only school there. And they got government funding, and even though we weren't Catholic, they had to teach us just like everybody else. And man, I was grabbed by the ear and pulled across the courtroom, and I was going, "You aren't Jesus. Jesus wouldn't do this like this." And I said, and it was very like if you weren't part of the club, the other kids could do whatever they wanted to, and they got away with it. But luckily, my dad came in and straightened him out. You know, he came in and said, "Hey, my son doesn't lie." And it's about an incident where we were just playing marbles, and these guys started throwing rocks at us, and they hit my friend in the head and cut his head. And I picked the same rock and threw it back, and I hit this guy right between the eyes with it. And it was just kind of a reaction, like what the and so I got in really bad trouble for that. But I was saying it was self-defense, and it was just I was being an instrument of that guy's karma, you know. But,
I'll tell you this, I wish my parents were like that, but I was a bad kid, and they actually signed off the paperwork for them to whoop me in class or
yeah,
onto the desk, and then you got the paddle out with the aerodynamical paddle with the holes in it, zip, boom, you know. And I'd have to
my teachers, when I was a kid, my teachers actually brought the paddle out, and they said, "I want you to show you see these holes in the paddle? These are so it goes faster and has a harder impact." And they explained the whole thing. And he goes, anybody need a demonstration? You know, that was the first day of school.
Well, they demonstrated on me.
yeah. Exactly.
I mean, it was embarrassing. I remember, man, they whacked me when he did it on purpose when everyone was changing classes.
Yeah.
And so they could hear me, yell in the hallway. But it was I didn't like school at all, man. And I think that's why I am who I am. I ask all these questions. I'm just very curious, and I want to know because I know everything that we were ever taught, you know, from evolution to NASA to all of it is a lie. It's a lie.
It's all a lie, yeah.
We can agree on that. Everyone can agree on that.
Yeah, I got kicked out of chemistry, out of philosophy, out of psychology, everything. I got kicked out of every class because I kept asking questions they couldn't answer. And they got pissed off, and they said, "Look, don't come to class anymore. No matter what you do, I'm giving you an F." And I'm going, wait a second. You know, I said, I'm just asking questions. And in psychology, I was saying, where do these traumas come from? I go, people are deathly afraid of water or snakes or spiders. They haven't even experienced anything like that, or lions, or allergic to cats and all these things. Where does this come from? And then when you really know what to do, you can go back and you go, oh, these guys were thrown to the lions in the past. This person fell in a snake pit and died from that. This person drowned, you know, and this person could be in the middle of Africa or something and not even ever see the ocean, and they're deathly afraid of water. Where's that come from? And how do people know where they lived in the past, the exact address and their name and everything else? And so I was asking those questions, and in chemistry, I said, where does that come from? They go, well, you know, we've got the periodical chart and we have this and that. And I said, yeah, but somebody put it together.
Right.
You know, there's some intelligence behind. You look in nature and you look at creation, you go, who did that? You know, I believe did it, you know.
I believe there can be multiple truths right at the same time. It's not just one truth. There can be many truths for the same question. You know, like when you're looking at this pen, I can see this pen a different way you do. You're seeing it
exactly.
I'm seeing it this way, and someone looking at it that way. There's a million different ways to view this pen, and to us, it's our own truth. And that's the same thing with, you know, anything in life. You know, there's
I tell people they're right. You know, people come and they want to challenge me. You know, they go, I don't believe in any of this crap. None of it's real, and everything. I go, you're right. And they go, what do you mean? They go, what do you mean you're right? And I go, well, that's you. You know, you see things according to your consciousness, according to your beliefs. And if that's what you believe, you are right. This is not real for you. It doesn't mean it's not real for me. You know, because I've seen it firsthand. You know, I've seen the masters, I've seen the ships, I've seen the beings on them. I know them by name. You know, it's like I've been doing this a long time. And I know why they're here. And most of them here now are for good. They're here to help liberate the planet and of the negative ones. And so we don't need to be freaking out and condemning them and everything else when they're actually working on our behalf right now.
What do you have to say to people that are probably going to be blowing up the chat right now? This is totally demonic. He's channeling familiar spirit.
I am whatever they want me to be. You know, whatever they want to project on me, I will be, and there's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah, because they're right.
I am offering something grander for them to look at. Like, we could play a game. How big is your God? You know, does your God just live on Earth? And is it just in this solar system? You know, is it multidimensional? What about the billions of solar systems out there, you know, with planets can inhabit life? It's like even the tablets say there's 47 civilizations out there that the Anunnaki knew of. And some were very advanced, and there's some they said, don't go there. You know, there's a big warning sign, do not go to this group, you know. So, I mean, that's, you know, Atlantis, Lemuria, all those things are not, you know, they're not in the Bible, basically. So but they are in the ancient scrolls, the very ancient stuff. But, you know, all we get is a passage that says there are other worlds you know not of, or things like that, or things, you know, people don't realize, you know, heaven is not a place of just harps and clouds.
It'd be pretty boring.
It's a multi-dimensional universe. And when my dad passed, I was with my dad, and his last words were, beam me up. And I asked myself, why would he say, beam me up? And I walked outside and I took a picture of the most beautiful turquoise light ship hovering over the house.
Wow.
And then I went, okay, yeah, heaven's a lot bigger than we think it is. And it's more diverse than we could imagine.
Wow. Well, James, I want to thank you for joining me. I hope people got something out of this.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot here. There's a lot for people to unpack. I mean, we talked about a lot of different things. I'm sure people would like you to come on as a general in the general's tent. Would you be willing to do that?
Sure.
That's on.
Now, what
Nino.
is that again? What's the
general's tent is on ninoscorner.tv. I hold I pick a general to take questions, and my audience ask you, hey, you know, everything that's pertaining to your expertise in your field or whatever, to your knowledge, and they just ask questions. And it's a fun, you know, hour 15 minutes sometimes. Just people ask, you know, fielding questions. You can pass on any question you want, but it'd be great for you to come on and talk about your ranch and how you perceive things and take questions from the audience. And I'll make sure everyone's very civil and polite.
I don't even care. It's like they can say whatever they want.
Well, I mean, they're a great group of people, man.
My ego died a long time ago, so I don't even care anymore. I mean, I'm good with God. I've already died. You know, I know what it is, and I know who I'm working for. But you know, all the other stuff, it just doesn't matter to me. That's just their projection, and they're doing the best they can with what they know.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, it's sad, but that's where they're at.
So could we look at June or July to bring you on?
Sure. Yeah. Anytime. Okay.
So I'll keep in contact with you folks. Please like, share, and subscribe. Where do people find you, James?
Well, the best way to find me is eceti.org, eceti.org. Or we're on Rumble, YouTube, X, ECETI, Stargate Radio, BBS Radio. We're all over the place. If you type in my name, James Gillen, or ECETI Stargate, it'll come up. And we have ECETI Stargate TV as well that people can check into. And we have all the ships on there and all the beings. And I tell you what's funny. We have the original picture of ET and the original picture of the feline beings. Like
really?
30 years ago. I'll send them to you.
Send them to me.
And you look at it and you'll go, oh my God, that's the movie. And people associated with the people that made those movies were coming to the ranch and getting that information. And of course they didn't donate and they didn't, you know.
Well, can they donate on ECETI Ranch?
What's that?
Can they donate on ECETI Ranch or ECETI.org?
Oh, yeah. You can go to eceti.org, and we could really use some frog skins right now because we're cleaning up after the winter damage and everything else. And we probably are the most censored group on the planet because we go beyond religion, the spiritual. We go beyond the UFO community, which is a controlled narrative. So they're doing all they can to censor us. But the problem is we have the masters, we have the ships appearing here, the beings, we photograph them. We've got thousands of witnesses that have come here, and they can't destroy that. They can't debunk the information we have. So they go after character. They try to character assassinate you, which has been going on for a while.
Can people go onto your ranch? Do you have like groups that come on there and check out the lights for themselves, things like that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We have sky watches every weekend and people come. We have healing circles. We teach all kinds of, workshops that are aligned with self-mastery and healing, and even herbal classes, silent meditation retreats, all that stuff. And it's ongoing. We've been ongoing for like 40 years. So, you can't destroy the track record, or the evidence we have, basically. But they'll try.
This is incredible. I knew you were definitely one of my go-tos to get this type of information. I really appreciate you coming on, James. Stay with me one moment as I peace out to everybody. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully you got something out of this, because I did. This is pretty incredible. Thanks, James. Stay with me just one moment.
All right.